Bases dropped on a wall pass Wednesday. No dilly, no dally zone because Jarrett is a short timer today. Tyler Pilgrim coming up in about 10 minutes, and we'll discuss a couple of different things. Haven't had the chance to catch up with Jarrett about the announcement about what is not happening in the United States in 2027. So that'll be kind of a lead into what we're going to talk to Tyler about in addition to Atlanta United, any hangovers, and getting ready for a 30-something coach coming to town in the form of Eric Ramsey and Minnesota United. Jarrett, I'm not going to waste no time. So, good morning.
Good morning.
And morning to Pars and morning to Alex, who are drifting in as well. News came out that 2027, I guess the United States has, I don't know if they've won the toss or deferred or whatever, but lost the toss, and they're just going to defer. Nothing in 2027 World Cup wise. They're talking infrastructure and preparation and making sure that the sponsors or prospective sponsors, wouldn't have the Women's World Cup lost in the sauce. So the U.S. and Mexico have deferred to 2031. They're going to push it down the road for 4 years to make sure that they're not just part of a discussion, that they can be the discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll get more information eventually. We'll get like an oral history. Somebody will do deep dives. We'll get anonymous sources on it that are not authorized to speak on it, but we'll get more information as time goes on about why they made this decision. The World Cup's going to be interesting. Like, we know where you sit in 26. Beyond that, I'm very interested if the World Cup eventually starts going the way of the Olympics, and not that it loses relevancy, but in the sense that we start becoming collectively as a species more conscious of the cost of doing these things. Now, It's easier in the U.S. and in Western Europe because you have the capacity to host the games in stadiums that are already built or can be done with minor renovations, as opposed to like building an entire country's worth of stadiums for an event. Directly at you, Connor, and Brazil. But the economic viability, it's going to change over time. And you're going to, especially if FIFA's going to tell you, well, you need to upgrade these stadiums, you need to have A, B, or C for us to realistically do that. That's going to dictate who can and can't do it, and if they want to take on the cost for it. I'm interested to see if that changes over time, if we become more sensitive to it, like we have with the Olympics. Because think back, John, you were doing your thing in 1992.
Yes, I was.
When the Olympics in Atlanta selected to the Olympics, like even through the late 90s, you still had that same vibe about the Olympics. Now, the World Cup, obviously, again, not the same thing as the Olympics, but I wonder if we ever get to that point where like we're just kind of more careful about how and when and where we choose to do these things because of the cost. Because, it's not going to be cheap, and especially if you have to start retrofitting stadiums or making upgrades and whatnot. And I like to believe naively that we are becoming more like sensitive to the idea of paying the rising stadium costs. Like, what is the one in Chicago? Like $2 billion redacted dollars?
Sure, why not?
Ish like that.
Yeah.
Where they just like they want the city to pony up that much money. You're going to end up in like some financial wormhole where you're just stuck in this cycle of suck. Especially the cost of stadiums is going up so much. I mean, it's going to be tricky, especially if FIFA tells you they want specific things for stadiums.
Today, I feel like an architect. I'm just waiting for that kind of a moment from our buddy Johnny Infantino. Today, I feel
I'm waiting for Johnny Infantino to get roundhouse kicked in the face is what I'm waiting
for. That might happen someday, and it might be over fashion choices or something like that. So, I mean, Yee. But you look at, and we were, and when it was broken down, 13 stadia were available for Brazil 10 years ago in the World Cup, and a handful of them were renovated. The Maracanã was one of them. Most of the stadia for the World Cup were in the neighborhood of 40,000. The new stadia that were constructed. And I think we're to the point where when you have this kind of a discussion, 40,000, that might be about right for the women's side in 2027. But you're looking at 10 to 13 stadia that were new. What I don't know is the state of affairs of those new stadia. Are they just kind of hanging out? I want to know what infrastructure is. I want to know what repairs are. I want to know what retrofitting has to be done. I want to know all of this stuff before I consider Brazil. And then do you sit there? It's like, okay, it's been 10 years since a world event has been there. It's only been 5 years since an event has been in the European continent, and 3 countries want to divvy up all of the duties for that one. And so it's all of this. And to your point, the big ticket items these days are either in countries of a certain political, how do we phrase this? A political ilk.
Yep.
When it comes to printing money and budgets and such, or you feel like you have enough of a commercial base where you can afford it, you can either break even or make a profit, and there is no, or you have a situation like we have with one of the two prospective vendors in 27, where it's 3 countries sitting there saying, okay, we'll do this, you do this, and you do this, and we're fine.
I think it's going to be something more and more common that you see because it lightens the load.
Mm-hmm.
It lightens the fiscal load on the countries to be able to do it. It lightens the security load, like the logistics, everything about it. You split it up between 3 countries, and in Europe, I think it's much easier because the countries are smaller.
Yeah.
And you're able to get around. You have like a functioning system of public transit, and it makes it easier to deal with all that. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, like, FIFA should not be waiting so long to decide where Women's World Cup's going to be held. I agree. They should figure this ish out.
And I wonder how much that played into 27 involving the United States, because we are what, 3 years from a World Cup scenario?
Yes. And FIFA can kind of drag their feet on it because they are FIFA. They can kind of drag their feet on it and expect everyone to just kind of jump when they say jump.
Mm-hmm.
And Maddie's dropping news in the notes, so I know she's listening. Hey Maddie, if you want to go burn some time today at Kennesaw, go to the sport management office, go find Dr. Josh Pitts and ask him about publicly funded stadiums. That'll give you a good hour that you if you need to kill an hour at least. He'll also send you papers. It's an absolute joy. I highly recommend it.
And that's the fun part of all of this, where you get to learn about stadia that are 10 to the left of the decimal place, and you have folks that are I think you have some governments, see Arizona, Glendale / Phoenix, that are becoming less and less interested in putting up with ownership ish, and it's like, nah, we ain't doing it. Y'all do.
It's a risk you run, though. Like, it's a risk you run if you're not going to deal with the circus that can come with certain ownership groups, which we had one here when we had a hockey team here, and then they also owned the NBA team. Of one of the risks you run of telling those guys to go kick rocks is they might go kick rocks somewhere else. And yeah, I mean, it is sad that they decide the Men's World Cup 6 years out and the Women's World Cup they don't even have it yet for 3 years out, because FIFA is a wonderful example of when they show you who they are, believe them, especially when it comes to the way they handle women's sports. We don't have to sit here and pretend that like FIFA is some trailblazer or ahead of their time with women's sports. We can sit here and be like, you know what, cool, we're getting better television deals for the Women's World Cup, getting more exposure. That's really fun. We're making some progress. But also, you can do that and at the same time acknowledge that FIFA can be absolute Neanderthals and idiots when it comes to handling women's sports and women's soccer.
Yeah.
And they just ham-fisted holding a bottle rocket, wondering, if I point this at my eye, I wonder what happens.
Yeah, because we always want to find out what happens when we're staring at a bottle rocket going, that fuse is getting awfully short as I'm holding on to
They
it.
are happy to reshare every rant that Martha has ever done after a game about,
Oh, yeah.
investing in the women's game and how she won't be around forever and how it's on the next generation. They are more than happy to share that and collect the views and collect the revenue from it
Mhm.
before they will lift a damn finger about being more proactive about this stuff.
Yep. 9:15. So that means one thing. It means that since it is a Wall Pass Wednesday, it is time for Tyler to come right into the middle of this discussion.
It's like a
First,
Royal Rumble.
yeah, it is. First and foremost, the important stuff. What's the mug and what's in it?
This morning I'm having technical difficulties with a light that doesn't want to turn on. Make me pretty. Okay, there we go.
Soft lighting. Put
Yeah.
Vaseline in the lens like I do here.
No, it's the same cup. I'm repping like 3 weeks in a row now.
Well, I hope you've washed it in between visits.
Yeah, I have. I promise. Maybe consumed a little bit of harder liquid out of it than just coffee, but that's okay.
That's cleaning, dude. That's sanitizing. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And it's a breakfast blend, so lots of caffeine.
Yes. And so, Tyler, we're getting into the discussion about where things will not be happening to kick things off in 2027. And it will not be happening here in the United States, as the United States has deferred, and they're going to focus on 2031 when it comes to the Women's World Cup. And we are opening kickoff has turned into kind of a deep dive about all of the different aspects of it and what we could be keeping an eye on with the United States and Mexico, what should be kept an eye on with U.S. and Mexico, public funding for stadia, how the other countries are lining up to do this kind of a thing. Can they afford it? What's the infrastructure? All these kinds of things. See what you walked into with the Wall Pass Wednesday Royal Rumble.
Let me go refill my cup real quick. Hang on. Yeah, I saw the press release, and I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to look at it from both sides. Like, selfishly, obviously, I want it to be in 2027 because I think it's they both kind of benefit each other, right? Like, you have 2026, the hype is already there. Then that can carry over to 2027 if there is legitimately some reason that they think they can use the 4 years and make it that much better. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I wish there was like a track record of that, but I mean, as long as they get it, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, if you get it, you have a responsibility to make it the best possible event that you can. And you have the Men's World Cup coming here in 2026. We know the types of facilities that are going to be in play. Maybe you add one or two different ones between the World Cup in 2026 and then the women in 2031. But there are a lot of other things I would like to see improved as well. I mean, that's like getting into a different topic, but like,
so Wall Pass Wednesday, brother. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, transportation. I mean, not just in Atlanta.
You want an infrastructure issue? Come on,
just a little bit. I would like to be able to take a train somewhere like you can in other countries, and not pay an arm and a leg, and just take all advantage of this massive country that we have, for the reason that other countries, maybe it's not the reason that they have these infrastructures. Let's be honest, they don't have great train systems for soccer, but it's a byproduct of being in a smaller country. Put all the effort into the infrastructure, put all the effort into just, again, making it the best possible event that you can.
The most excellent Women's World Cup ever.
But
yeah, like the first step would be for us to go back in time and beat Henry Ford to death with a kendo stick and a bunch of people like him, and try and invest in a rail in the 20s as opposed to cars. But
yeah,
it's kind of, I don't have the time machine up and running right now. I'm waiting for a new compressor.
If you get it, let me know, because
I will. We're also going to go. Look, man, I got a whole list of things. Like, we're going to go back. We're also going to muzzle Kyle Shanahan. Like, I got a whole list of things I got lined up. Mark Wohlers is not going to throw sliders to Jim Leyritz. We're gonna change so much history.
I like it. I like it because it's gonna be for the best. I sit in Henry County traffic every day, which is why it's easy for me to go on a rant about transportation.
I'm
And
feeling this, my friend.
yeah, it's just I agree with you. Like Henry Ford might be Satan, actually.
I've always, because like, so I spent 10 years working in traffic in this city. I'm always fascinated that, like, I was always fascinated watching, like, why is it that 75 through Henry County gets all of the spectacular crashes and jackknife tractor trailers, and we get one every now and then in like the North Metro or like downtown. But like, if I want to see some spectacular shit, I go to Henry County.
We have the intersection merge, I guess is really what it is, between 75 and 675.
Sure.
Is
that's Mad Max.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we have seen tractor trailers full of chicken end up down there, and that smells wonderful. We've seen tractor trailers full of bourbon, which is much better.
But it spilled it though, so I mean,
well, it did. But there was some that
some survived
made the trip.
Okay.
The good thing about that is, they have to get rid of that stuff anyway. So when it goes to the tow yard, a lot of times, eventually, once they get all the proceedings out of the way, they just start giving it out, which is really cool.
There you go.
So,
but yeah, the whole notion is to avoid having a most exceptional Women's World Cup in the United States of America, and if you look at it, so Abby makes the point.
John, I like that you're still salty that they called the Atlanta Olympics the most exceptional.
Oh, dude. I mean, that's quoting Jim Rome, who referred to the then head of the IOC as Juan Antonio Samersex. When you have somebody like that, look, I go back to 1989, and they were making the announcement. You know how everybody at Underground Atlanta, they're hanging out there at an ungodly early hour, and you get the announcement, and to the city of Atlanta, yay, and the woman I was dating at the time woke me up, and I didn't care. I thought it was going to go to Athens because of the anniversary and all that kind of stuff. I thought, I don't know, have some piece of history attached to your announcements. But she calls me, she wakes me up, and she goes, "It's Atlanta, it's Atlanta." I go, "Great, click," and I, and so yeah, should have been Athens. Hung up the phone, and from there, I mean, there are ways to cover the event, but you knew what it was at the time, and Jarrett, you discussed what DISCUSSED, not DISGUST, but you talked about early on here in the show what it's going to and what it is, and it's not just the 5-ring circus. It's Formula One. It's pick a big ticket item, and it's always going to be leaning this way. World Cups and what have you. It is going to be countries of a certain political ilk, plus those countries that will sit there and say, yeah, we can afford it through commercial means. It's not going to be those cute places anymore, and that's just how that's how it's going to be. And I think that if you were the United States in this particular case with 27, I think that probably U.S. Soccer looked at it at the end of the train, because, I mean, think about what it's going to be like here the next. That is not me sending that message.
It was well timed, though.
It was.
I don't know what you're doing, but
round
was well
two.
timed.
Yeah, round two. You end up with what's happening this year with Copa America and the Olympics in 24. You have the Club World Cup coming in 25. You have the World Cup coming in 26. Women's World Cup coming in 27. And you run the risk from a commercial standpoint. I'm not even talking infrastructure and stadia, which we know would sit there. You give enough runway, and the United States would be like, dang, we're good. But the idea that you have the Women's World Cup, say, in 27, and you're at the end of this commercial train. You're the caboose. And you run the risk of having all of these sponsors and all these commercial entities sitting there going, well, we invested in the Men's World Cup in 26. We just don't, we can't take the level of investment we had there and spend it again the next year. So I can see from a commercial standpoint and from an advertising standpoint and from a sponsorship standpoint, the U.S. and Mexico sitting like, yo, let's take a cycle. We'll take time to analyze what we need to do to be successful in 2031, in quotation marks. We'll let 2027 be 2027. So that way you're not running up against that wall where everybody's sitting there saying, yeah, come on and sponsor us. And everybody's going, well, I don't know, man. We really spent a lot of money in 26, and give it the runway that you need to help things out financially, sponsorship wise, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm looking at it strictly from that perspective. Not just the fact that, oh, I don't know, it would be 3 years from now. 3 years. Legitimately. You have the 5-ring circus sit there and they give 8 years notice. You have, other World Cup competitions, you're like 5-6 years out, like Abby was saying. Right now, you still have not announced 3 years away where your Women's World Cup's going to be in 27. That, to me, to your point, Jarrett, shows really, Tyler, where I think that FIFA is sometimes. It's just like, these entities sit there and it's like, yeah, we're with you. We're going to do everything for the growth of the game. And then 3 years out, you still haven't told folks where you're going to be in 27. I mean, come the blank on.
Yeah. It's interesting because, like, in the press release, U.S. Soccer was like, we want it to be essentially equitable. Like, we want it to have as much put into it as the Men's World Cup, which, like I said, you owe it to that entire sport, right? And by that sport, I mean the women's side of the game. Like, they need to be on equal footing. You need to be, because you look at Barcelona and what those women are doing, filling out their stadium on a weekly basis. Like, the game is growing immensely. Look at the NWSL here. There's so many aspects of this that are growing rapidly. I mean, when I was with Jason doing the fundraiser the other day at Sweet Auburn Barbecue, we got on a conversation a little bit about the women's game. And, from like a local coaching perspective, like, I see the tournaments that come out to some of these fields, and there are so many young girls playing, and it's such a great thing to see that it's blowing up the way that it does. But they have so many great role models to look up to. So, yeah, I mean, again, selfishly, I would like to see it in 2027. It's idiotic that FIFA hasn't said where it's going to be, because you have to have time. Like, politics, nothing happens in 3 years.
It's not I Dream of Jeannie, Gianni Infantino. Right. You don't just sit there and go, boing, and it happens. It doesn't
there's
work
no lamp,
this way.
No lamp to rub. So,
but of course, it's the rub of the commercial lamp. Everything will happen through sponsorships. Boing.
Yeah. Coca-Cola will come in and they'll just throw a whole bunch of money at something and make it work.
Sure. No planning there at all.
No, I just do it justice. That's all I care about. I mean, I could be patient, I guess, but also, I mean, to do it right, you need more than 3 years. Really.
Oh, come on.
2.5 at this point.
I mean, and to Tyler's point, like, look, if you've never worked in events, that's cool, but 2.5 or 3 years is basically, it's nothing in terms of time, because different jobs require a different time scale. When you're talking about a global event like that, 2.5, 3 years is nothing. That's like an overnight almost.
Mm-hmm.
You need an extreme amount of time to be able to pull anything like this off. And it's not as much time as it feels like.
Mm-hmm. And that was the other thing that I wanted to, in addition to this road that we've gone down this morning, Tyler, I did want to talk about the Sunday set piece that you and Jason got to discuss about what's going on down there in the Southern Crescent. We'll get there eventually. It's just that this morning we ended up riffing about, infrastructure and planning and making sure that that you get to have the right devotion to a particular product. But yeah, how's that? You asked the folks in Lausanne, Switzerland. Yeah, how's that study about women's ACLs going? Beat 2, 3, 4 crickets, silence, what have you. And so, you look at all of these things, and as Jarrett says, it has the Irish goodbye. And well, at least he survived the first 15 minutes of the segment. It's just, I'm looking at it from, and Jason asked when the announcement, when we were at the groundbreaking of the Arthur M. Blank training ground, about, Jason asked about 2027, 2031. And Jason asked about 2031 at the time. U.S. Soccer is saying, yes, we're focused on 27. That's what you're supposed to say. But, in these ideas, it's like, look, 3 years, that ain't a whole lot, man. I mean, you got Major League Soccer, and they're looking at 2025's All-Star game going to Q2, and I mean, in an insular infrastructure like a league setup, you can do something like that. But with everything that's attached to a world event, I think that prudence here by U.S. Soccer will win the day. But I'm more concerned if it goes to Brazil. I want to know what the stadium setup is. I want to know about infrastructure, like we've been discussing. Is there going to be hot and cold running, hot and cold? These simple things. Transportation, infrastructure, all these things that we've been discussing. I think that U.S. Soccer made the right move when you think about it and you step back for half a second. You're like, yeah, 3 years, that ain't a whole lot of time. And once again, it shows, I think that the amount of respect for the women's game still has a large gap space when it comes to folks in Europe in their own office building with the shiny logo out front.
Yeah, because I mean, how can you sit there and say you're taking it seriously when, like you said, the Olympics, you get, but is it 8 years? I was thinking it was more than 8, honestly.
I thought it was 8.
At least 8, right? So, I don't mean, at times it feels like we know where the Olympics in 2050 are going to be. It seems like they're way out there. But, yeah, they've got to do it justice. They have so many aspects of the game though that do need to catch up, and admittedly, like, so many are on the right path. But you mentioned that a second ago, like the injury situation. Like, how many times do you hear about that conversation and that debate in the men's game, and then when it comes to the women's game, it's thrown up almost as an afterthought. And then, not even to mention that, but just like from an infrastructure standpoint, think about how long it takes to make sure you have the right kind of grass ready for a place like the Bends. That is not something that happens overnight. That is something that takes time. And, it's not like they just have one sheet of grass that they grow and it's perfect and they can grow it in a month and then lift it up and take it to the Bends. Like, they have, chunks of sod that they have to make sure are rooted the right way. And there's so many little things that go into it. And, that, not to say that is like a 3-year process, but that doesn't give you a whole lot of gap time, right? Like, if you have something go horribly wrong, because even with the most recent, with the She Believes Cup, it wasn't guaranteed where that grass was coming from. It wasn't that they have one partner and that partner is going to be the one, because, and I know this from chatting with US Soccer, you had instances where they actually had one partner that they were supposed to be getting the grass from, and the grass got ruined because of too much rain. So it's like it's little things like that. You don't have a lot of leeway for error when you have it out 3 years. And that's a very, very extreme example. Like, I get it's just grass, but there's so many other things.
Well, you got to play on something, man.
Right. So, there are things to be discussed and figured out for sure. And 3 years is not really enough time to do it.
No, Tyler Pilgrim, at ATL Pilgrim, at Scarves, and the letter N, Spikes, hanging out with us as he traditionally does, 9:15 on Wall Pass Wednesdays, where, as you can tell, topics are not tied to just what's going on with Atlanta United and what's going on in Tyler's brain when it comes to Major League Soccer. I wanted to get into the Sunday set piece that you and Jason got the chance to talk about, and the growth of the sport on the Southern Crescent, and the flipping birds, as Jason calls Eagles Landing High School. They had a bit of a long night last night, losing to Midtown, and so Midtown makes it into the left-hand side semifinals in 5A on the boys' side, or on the boys' side, and so Midtown is going to be making their way in once again to the Final Four in their classification. And so it will be Midtown and McIntosh on Friday as a part of what's going on in the semis. And the way that things have grown there in the Southern Crescent, for someone who hasn't had the chance to go to the Southern Crescent, to check and see what's going on with the Georgia Revs and how they have just continued to increase their footprint as things have grown. Soccer in the high school sense on the Southern Crescent. For those, without giving away a whole lot, if there was anything that was left on the table, what was it like to be able to discuss what's going on there in the Southern Crescent with the growth of what's going on south of the perimeter on 285? What's it been like for you to see all of this grow, knowing that because of where you are geographically, folks may not necessarily get to see what's going on down there when it comes to growth?
Yeah, I think from maybe a pride perspective, you have a lot of folks down here who they have heard about the National Training Center, the U.S. Soccer Training Center, and when you start talking to them about it, maybe they don't know quite where it's at, but they heard, hey, it's coming to Atlanta, and then you tell them, hey, it's actually just outside Fayetteville, down here on the south side. They're like, oh, really? Like, that's amazing. But then at the same time, I've talked to 13-year-old kids. They're like telling me all the details about it, and they're following this. Like, they're super excited about it. And it is, it's a sort of, I think, a pride aspect to say, hey, we actually have this thing happening on the south side. Like, that's just really neat, and not to mention just the south side, but Atlanta in general, but especially the fact that, you can be down here in a place that maybe hasn't gotten as much love in terms of infrastructure. We'll go back to the traffic thing.
Yeah.
But it's growing rapidly down here, and it was actually really cool being at Sweet Auburn Barbecue, because some of the folks that came out were actually parents of players that I've coached, or the players themselves that were out, and they've since gone and joined the Revolution. And it was kind of neat to see, like I've been doing it for a few seasons now, and just to be able to watch some of them grow and take what, I taught them and see them kind of develop into something even more. It's just really, really neat to see. But this mini pitch specifically, like, I've told the story, and if you listen to that or before, like when we did the Top Golf thing, this park that this mini pitch is going in is literally where I have some of my earliest memories. And I mean, I was literally playing baseball at 4 years old in this park. So to see it kind of come full circle now to the sport that I really love and like what my kids play. And that's not just a story that I could tell. There are thousands of people in Henry County and the surrounding area that could tell you the same story, because it's been there forever. And it's taken an unused piece of real estate, essentially was now a parking lot. It used to be a community pool, and turning it into something that's so great for the community. Like, it's in a residential area. So there are, I can't tell you how many thousands of people within walking distance of where this mini pitch is at. And that's just like a little bubble of what's happening with these mini pitches all over the state, because that's what they're there for. That's what they're there. They're there to grow the game. And yeah, it's a source of pride, I think, all encompassing, being able to say, hey, yeah, the U.S. Soccer Training Center, Henry County, we're getting this mini pitch. The Georgia Revolution's doing these great things. The great run organization. I mean, it's really fun to watch.
And part of what we have been able to do with our match days that we've done on the high school schedule, we've been really fortunate. And when Jason came up with the master grid, it was being able to go to Alexander out in Douglas County, go to Johnson, Gainesville, and see what's going on up there up at the Dungeon. Go to Perry for a playoff game. Go to Ellijay and see what's going on in Gilmer County and how things are growing there. Go to Calhoun on occasion. Go to Sonoraville and see what's going on there. I'm trying to look at my grid and see where else we've been. Villarica, North Oconee, Sequoia, Winder Barrow to catch up with the DOGGs. You go to Riverwood, and you go to all these different places, and you tell the stories about what's going on at Lincoln County and all of these different locales. And I think that it's fun to see the game expand. And frankly, I think we could make a case for a lot of those places that we visited to be a part of the GA 100 and the mini pitch project, so folks can gravitate toward what's going on. And I think that the Southern Crescent, I think, is a microcosm of it. It might be the first one that has crossed over the finish line to sit there and say, okay, hey, look, we've got the National Training Center, we've got this, we've got this, we've got this. And I think that it can be an example just of what can be done if you continue to apply and not give up on something. I think that's probably the biggest point that I would make here.
Yeah, because they have put a ton of effort into making this happen. And, you name off all these cities and counties and places. And it's so interesting to me, because coaching down here, we typically travel to places like Thomaston, Pike County, Lamar County.
County's another one, Zebulon and Barnesville.
Yep.
They've put deep playoff runs.
Yes. And Griffin, obviously Peachtree City. I mean, there's so many places, and there's so much talent, even in rec, that is like just nobody would know about it. And I think this is kind of a step, maybe in a selfish manner of now you help maybe the kid that for whatever reason, whether it's paid, like a paywall type situation or whatever, where their parents can't get them into like do an academy, but there is a bigger possibility of them being seen for what they're doing and what they love and the talent that they have. Whereas before, I mean, the pipeline was you play, you go to maybe high school, you go to maybe college, depending, you get into an academy, great. But now there's, I think, going to be so much more attention, not just down here, but all over Metro Atlanta and Georgia in general, that I think it helps some of these kids who might not otherwise have that opportunity in terms of like financially to be able to go and do something that they really, really want to do. It doesn't have to be a dream that they have to give up on just because of money. And so it's just, I forget where I saw it, but it was I guess a study done that said that Georgia per capita puts out the most, like, I forget what quality athlete in the nation.
Best damn. There you go. That's your quality. Best damn. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. We'll quantify. That's perfect. The best damn athletes ever. But before now, we don't have that infrastructure like other countries have. And I'm so tired of using that word. I cannot believe I used it like 5 times this morning already. but
it takes on different forms though. And
it does. It does. And this is a big step, and little things like the mini pitches are a big step because I told Jason this and everybody at the live show, you don't have, if you're living here, going back to the traffic, you don't have the ability to just walk to a soccer pitch. You don't have the ability to walk to somewhere where you can actually go kick a soccer ball and not worry about it ended up in the middle of an overturned tractor trailer like Jarrett was talking about earlier.
Game on. Maddie Cruz is in this morning, and Maddie has been dutifully listening to all of these conversations about best dam and infrastructure and weights and Olympics years and 5-ring circus years. I don't want to get us in trouble with the IOC.
Oops.
So all of this kind of stuff. Maddie, what is on your mind this morning here in hour number 1 on a Wall Pass Wednesday?
I don't know. Y'all were talking about the U.S. dropping the Women's World Cup, and I got upset, so I didn't want to chime in.
Why not? I mean, there's nothing wrong with chiming in about it.
Well, no, I'm just sad.
It's just dream deferred. It's not dream.
Yeah, well, see, I'm just upset because I had it perfect. You have the Men's World Cup, and then literally the next year the Women's. Done. Yeah. Sign me up.
Yeah.
And now that dream can't happen.
Well, no, like I said, it's just dream deferred, not dream denied. It's just.
But we could have had it back to back, John.
Yeah.
Back to back.
But if you're all right, so I'm gonna be that guy. I'm gonna be that guy for a second.
Are you gonna play devil's advocate?
Maybe not. It might be more like Bobby Axelrod. But all right. So let's think about it this way. If I'm coming to you in a meeting. If I'm thinking about what I'm thinking about, it's just the money. Money rules everything. So if I'm in this situation and if I drop a check on a table for $9 million or I drop a check on a table that's $29 million, what's the better of the two?
I get what you're saying.
A $9 million check or a $29 million check? What's the better of the two? I'm not saying that it, for a double negative that my mother would kill me for. I'm not saying it doesn't suck that you don't go back to back to back to back here in a 4-year period. But 3 years to get everything squared away versus 7 where you can be the focus. You can have the spotlight shining on you and you alone instead of sitting there and trying to chase after a corporate sponsorship from insert drink here. And it ends up being, like RC Cola instead of Coca-Cola or it's Sundrop as opposed to Coca-Cola.
It's interesting because especially with the bid process of it.
Yeah.
With what we had going up into the Women's World Cup, the bidding process, we were likely going to be the ones who were going to be given it. It was a very high possibility. I'm saying, too, at least with the next World Cup, you don't have a for sure that you're not going to be the top runner-up. And so it's kind of like I get like planning it out, figuring it out.
I know England was also looking at 2031 as well for the women's
and
side.
I mean, I'm just like, it's kind of one of those situations where it's like, yeah, you're moving on to go and get better prepared and stuff, but what if another country comes in and sweeps it in and is like, hey, we got this planned out a little bit better.
Today, I'm an accountant. That's my Gianni Infantino impression.
That's my biggest concern, by the way, is like 2027 seemed a little bit more of a lock.
Mm-hmm.
You push it back to 2031, and there's no guarantee that you get it anyway. That's my only worry.
Not if I had a Ticonderoga number 2 pencil, I would wave it in the air.
I'm knocking on wood, but I'm just saying.
If I'm corporate America and I reach into my back pocket and I grab this, and this is commonly referred to as a wallet for those of you who are looking on the TV side.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought you were holding.
I thought you were about to open it the way so we could see your cards, and I was gonna say, guys, write it down.
No. Well, there's nothing in the bank account anyway, so it doesn't matter. All you would be doing is helping me if you were to dive into said account, because I could sit there and say, no, that was a fraudulent transaction. Put the money back. But no, if I'm corporate America and being the be all and end all of everything when it comes to sponsorship dollars, and the countries that are attached to the organization in Switzerland that is in charge of the world competition that challenges the best in an expanded format with an expanded number of countries. I think there are only a few countries that can sit there and handle all of these countries, all of these dates, all of these stadia, have the television audience that you're looking for, and it's not going to be European, especially if the 3 countries get it in 27. You're not going to go Europe back to back. But if I'm corporate America, I sit there and I open up my wallet and sit there and go, well, I'd really like for it to be in the United States. I'd like for it to have that East Coast audience where I can get millions and gazillions of people there. I think that the corporate firepower of countries that are attached to the United States would probably swing it better than any other country that would be attached in 2031. That's just my gut feeling.
I totally agree with you, but
I was going to say, where's the conjunction in your sentence?
I can never account for the stupidity of human beings at times.
Yeah.
And that makes me nervous because it's not as if FIFA is without fault when it comes to decision making.
What? FIFA?
It's my only worry.
That's kind of where my thing is I'm like, it's very uncertain now, because I feel like the 2027 bid was a very locked in type of thing. And now you push it back a little bit, and now it kind of seems a little bit uncertain, because we know things are crazy over at FIFA.
Yeah. It's the Gilbert Gottfried sketch. It's just the scene in Beverly Hills Cop. It's like he's got the one thing in the one hand, and it's like, and then it's like, what? But then I got something over here in this hand, and it's just then all of a sudden it's like you focus on what's going on in this hand, and this hand is like, what's going on over here? I don't know what's going. One of those. But I understand the concerns, but we all know that. We look at it from the infrastructure standpoint. 3 years ain't going to cut it, especially if you're growing grass. And if grass ends up going kaput, then you need more than one particular location to find your grass, especially for your indoor venues. How many different venues in the United States have capacities that can fit the massive crowds that the folks in Switzerland would be looking for when it comes to all of the pretty pictures and all of, it's another packed venue. Hey, what's the capacity of it? 12? No. We can't have that. Look at 12 people watching a soccer. No, we can't. It's like 45, 50,000 people consistently. And I don't know. Maybe the final is at some stadium that's based here at SDHHQ that can seat 73,000, 7 miles that way, something like that. Because, hey, the National Training Center ain't going nowhere. It's going to be in the Southern for a while. That's a permanent thing. THANG. That is a permanent thing. That is not a permanent thing. It is a permanent thing. That is how emphasized that is.
Can I got to say really quick? Yeah. I've said this to nobody, so you're the first one to hear this.
Wait. Hang on. Hang on. If you're going to do this, we're going to do it this way.
All right.
Okay, now say it.
All right. This acted as if I was going to bring up news. I'm not. This is my opinion. The renderings for the National Training Center, the brick that they're using makes me feel as if I am back in elementary school and this place was built in the late 60s.
Okay.
So I know y'all were expecting maybe like a hotter take than that because it was built up, but I'm like, we're putting this like 50 million. I don't even know how much it is anymore.
11
whatever million training center and
200.
Using,
I thought. Yeah. Isn't Arthur putting up 50 for 200?
Arthur put 50. That's right. Yeah.
Arthur put up 50 for 200.
Yeah. Well, that 50 million could have gone to some better bricks. I'm just saying those bricks are ugly. And I want nicer bricks. I want some like lighter tones. I want something that looks like it came out of HGTV. This looks like it came out of a caveman's backyard, and I don't like it.
So what you're looking for, the folks from Magnolia, you're looking for Chip and Joanna to come in and model the whole thing and figure it out?
Yeah. All you got to do is change the brick color. Everything else is great. Change the brick color. Make it, throw some white on there, make it look a little, what's the word? Shabby chic.
Sure.
Is that the buzzword when we're talking about?
I'll take your word for it. The only buzzword I know is shiplap. So
Yeah, I was gonna say shiplap, but then that's not brick. So
no.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're looking for better design instead of the design flaws that are currently in the pictured representations of what's going on.
The brick color's got to change.
Okay, brick color's got to be a little more open and honest and welcoming, and it's lighter tones. I see.
It's like they made it out of Georgia clay.
Well, yeah. I mean, hello, where are you? Hello.
Which would be a cool flex if it was like, if they were like, hey, we made this out of Georgia clay. And then my whole vibe would be different, but they didn't,
There is a poll out at the Scarves in Spikes 280 character app. And I wanted to discuss this as well.
I want the chops. You said chops. I want it. Do it.
And it is because Tommy has to fulfill a bet. And we will wrap up your time here with leaving the conversation involving Chicago and leading into Minnesota United. Tommy has to fulfill a bet. You have 4 options, and there's one option that I do not see in this list. The options are Mutton, Foo, Soul Patch, and the Stash. Obviously, you could go either Soul Patch or Van Dyke or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to Clean?
He's going to get there eventually.
Clean off.
So that's the thing. It's all coming off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but this is just
somewhat temperate where, they having all that on there, that's not beneficial to, making sure that your clothes aren't drenched.
He's going to be doing it live on the show.
Okay. Is this the lead or is this the tag on the show?
Honestly, this may go throughout the entire show. We have Kendra de St. Aubin coming on as well, so we're gonna have a chat with her. Okay. And I don't know how aware she is of this aspect of what's happening.
Probably should give her a bit of a heads up.
Yeah, I'm gonna let her know. But no, by the end of the show, he will be clean shaven. It's just what happens in between that we're worried about.
Okay. So we are heading toward the clean shavenness. It's just the idea of what the stage is before it goes all clean off.
Yep. Okay. How would you like for Tommy to be?
What's your midpoint?
Yeah, but also he will be immortalized because he'll be on screen doing it. So somebody's gonna be taking some receipts, and then a year from now they're gonna come back up in the best way possible.
All right. Putting Chicago in the rearview mirror. You get a goalless draw. Atlanta United, I think, in the month of April. That was last month. April, I think, was number 1 in the league in XG. Bottom line against Chicago, you just didn't finish your chances, and combine that with Chris Brady standing on his head and still not getting credit for all the saves that he made. At least one was left off the board because of an AR that I don't know. But anyway, separate issue. But once again, they led in XG in April, didn't put it in the back of the net. Chris Brady stood on his head. You end up with a goalless draw, and you've got to put that in the rearview mirror with Minnesota United coming to town.
number one in XG, and then I don't think, and I have to look at the calendar, but I don't think you had a single win in April, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not one thing, it's the other. And I said this match in a bubble would have been a pretty good result. Because you went on the road, you got a result, you got a point, but it's just coming off of two really bad matches at home.
Yeah.
It's a really tough pill to swallow. So,
well, bad results at home. I wouldn't necessarily say bad matches. I think that you had bad moments
that is true.
The results.
Yes. Because you expect to win. You expect to win at home. At minimum draw, which you didn't even do against Cincinnati. So, yeah, you got to turn everything around. You got to forget this whole month ever happened. Yeah. And you do have good to take from it. You really do. The defense has been phenomenal, actually. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. Considering you're using, your fourth and fifth guys in this past match, like you did really well. The attack is creating chances. They just didn't finish them the way that they should have. So there's good to take from it, but now you've got to refine some things, fix it, and just have a completely different May. It just feels like a lost opportunity because April was objectively easier. I don't want to say easy, but easier.
Yeah. All right. Hit the plug, hit everything, Scarves and Spikes. And the prelude to the clean-shaven Tommy. When should we anticipate all of this? And when will Kendra D. St. Aubin, who probably should be promoted in all caps as her former broadcast partner, Callum.
Yes.
As Callum would always say, it's all one word. It's Kendra D. St. Aubin. It's all one word. There's no breath allowed when it comes to discussing Kendra. But you're going to have Kendra on the show. And so hit the promo for me, sir.
Yeah, we'll be live tonight at 7:00 for our normal show. We'll be chatting everything with the Chicago match, but especially Minnesota. We'll be talking about facial hair and the finer aspects of it. And
as the man who's got the full run,
yeah, I'm not getting rid of mine unless we win MLS Cup, well, maybe. But then my wife is going to be texting me. My wife's going to be texting me in about a minute saying, "Nope, I'm vetoing it. Stop talking about it."
Really?
I mean, if it meant that we won MLS Cup, there's a conversation to be had.
That is a better half that believes in a non-shaven face. Wow. Okay.
So yeah. So
she digs the beard and the stash. All right.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
just checking.
But yeah, 7:00, 7:30 is when Kendra De St. Aubin will be on with us, and Tommy will be pretty much shaving the entire time.
Yes, like I said, you better give Kendra a heads up and let her know what's going on so she can not be completely and totally wigged out by the entire process.
Yep.
Tyler, my friend, great to see you. We will see you. I will see you Saturday, and we will check and see if the Carvel machine is fully functioning, and we'll rock and roll from there. As always, my friend, great to have you on at 9:15 on Wall Pass Wednesdays, where we talk infrastructure and Switzerland and shiplap and all these kinds of things. It's always great to have you on, my friend. We'll catch up soon.
See ya. Shabby chic.
Yes, shabby chic. And so now Tyler is going to get his caffeine in, considering he got zero caffeine in during this segment. He got none whatsoever. It's like I think he got like one hydration break the entire time. Otherwise, Maddie, you and I were just sitting there and we were just talking and all over the place. Tyler couldn't catch his breath this week when it came to all the topics that we had.
No, absolutely not. I was hydrating. That's for sure.
Yes. Do you have your Georgia Impact material near you?
I can get it if needed.
Yeah. Well, I figured you might want we had the chance to thank Georgia Impact for letting us come and crash their party on Friday up there at Reformation up in Canton, but we haven't had the chance to display what they gave us on the way out the door, which was incredibly nice and humbling that they would give us the goodie bags for helping introduce their new jerseys and stuff for the 2024 season, and to be there and get great stories and introduce the roster and introduce the new jerseys and introduce everybody to one another. No, very, very cool. So at some point, grab the goodie bag and let everybody see what they gave us as a part of us not messing up the presentation, I guess is probably the best way to phrase it. Georgia Impact are part of the WPSL this season. Decatur FC also a part of it. And so as we get out of the high school season and into the summer season with all the other leagues going on. We'll get caught back up with USL Championship, get caught back up with USL League One. We've got the WPSL, we got the NPSL, so it's going to be all over the place. So just when you thought you weren't going to be busy, no, we're going to be busy. There's
all right. Well, hold on. Let me go grab it. I'll be right back.
Okay, so Dell, I can neither confirm nor deny, as Dell is asking if they gave Maddie a jersey. And so we will have the discussion with Maddie and at the end of the Dylan Butler segment. So the busiest man in the Northeast when it comes to anything and everything soccer. Dylan, hi.
What's up? How are you?
Well, you're the one that's been running around at 9,000 miles an hour. So it's soccer and lacrosse.
Yeah.
What sports am I missing?
No, well, also coaching 5 and 6-year-olds girls as well.
Oh, wow. So what has that experience been like for you, sir?
Interesting, for sure. The latest debate was 2 of the girls on the team complained that girls in the other team were pushing them.
Okay.
So like you can't exactly go, well, just push back.
Like, why not?
They're not supposed to teach that, I think, to 5 and 6-year-olds.
But you're not teaching it. It's just
what I'm trying to do, and in a very Wilfred Nancy kind of way, is I'm trying to like teach the concept of space. I'm like, you won't get pushed if we open up into space.
Okay. So basically, flee is what you're saying.
No, just open up space and pass to each other. Be good teammates.
Okay, just checking. I just wanted to see how the
I don't know if that's a concept that goes over with 5 and 6-year-olds.
Well,
who during the training session when the ice cream truck arrives, 3 of them just like sprint off trying to get ice cream. They came right back.
Wow, that's fantastic. So, do they have the money with them? Do they have the cards with them, or do you have to?
No, their parents are there too.
Coach Dylan, can you pay for the ice cream?
No. But my daughter, from her dance classes, we brought in a concept that has been very popular with the girls of post practice and post game stickers.
Okay.
5 and 6-year-old love stickers. So we decided, or she decided, I should say. Let's be honest, she's the boss.
Yes.
It's soccer related. Actually, I have them here. Soccer related stickers for post match, and then unicorn stickers for post training.
Oh, okay. So let's see.
So like, here's one of them. Let's see. I can show you a little girl there.
Okay, got it.
It's weird too because a few of this, like, it was just random stickers that I bought like off Amazon. So one just says like Croatia, and one says the NASL. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to get, so now I have to like kind of go through them. Just be like, I don't want some random girl. Like, why did I get a Croatia sticker from Coach Dylan? I don't understand.
So I was able to retrieve the impact.
Okay. So yeah, we hosted a WPSL event on Friday night where we were unveiling the new jersey for one of the local teams. And so they put up with me and Maddie, and we did not destroy the building or the facility that we were at. And so as a thank you, they gave us jerseys and stuff. And so there's
and here's one of the post training.
Oh, okay. So unicorn Pegasus with wings kind of deal.
Yeah.
Yes, Dell. They did give me a jersey, and you want to know who still hasn't?
Birmingham Legion. Yeah. Jay Heaps, Birmingham Legion. Yeah, Maddie's got a thing against Birmingham Legion because she's got a beef with Jay Heaps because Jay and Maddie had a bit of a discussion where when we did a remote in Birmingham, it was like, okay, so Maddie loves the new Lady Electra jersey. And so Jay's like, yeah, I'll get you one.
Nothing. Where is it?
Radio silence.
So yeah, that's where we are. So the WPSL, yeah, Maddie's beside herself with Jay Heaps. Speaking of Jay Heaps, former location of Jay Heaps is in a heap of trouble, and we talk about hot seats. Let me start it this way. when it comes to hot seats, how early is too early to talk about hot seats when it comes to coaches in Major League Soccer, do you think?
I think it depends on the team, right? Like, what was Chris Armis's at Toronto? Like four matches?
Yeah.
I mean, in a COVID year where they couldn't play at home, like a lot of things were stacked against them there. So I think it depends on the team and the move that you make, right? But you're right. Like, there's a few new coach hires where you're like, it's not exactly working out here. But the problem, I think, with any of that is, like, look, every new coach brings in, their own stuff, their own concepts, their own way to play, their own philosophy, and I think DC has maybe learned this a little bit over the years. Like, when you then make a change, right? Like, now you're turning the clock back, and now you've got to go back to the starting line, and even if you weren't that far ahead of the starting line, now you have to go back, and now we've got a new philosophy and a new coaching staff in, and you're just behind the eight ball then. So that said, MLS is unforgiving. So especially in the East, it's very difficult to make up points. NYCFC has, to their credit, with this homestand they've been in. 9 points from their 4 matches so far, I think, 3, 6, 9, 10 points, I think. I'm not good at math.
Yeah.
But I think three wins and a draw, right? Ahead of Colorado coming up on Sunday. So you can make up points for sure, but it's hard to make them up in a bunch like New England are looking at right now.
9 matches so far for New England, only 4 points on the grid, 1-7-1, averaging, giving up 2 goals a match, minus 12 in goal difference. You've only scored 6 with some of the big names that you have on this roster. And so let me see if I've got this correct. So first, it was dealing with CONCACAF and the schedule there. Then it was dealing with schedule compression in general. Then, before Messi and friends come to town, it's either food poisoning or just general sickness that is going on in New England. Short of dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria, where else can Caleb Porter go when it comes to things I can say before a match to temper down expectations?
The excuse mill, yeah. Like, he's gone a few chapters into that, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Like, he's not like, is he gonna blame the turf next? What were other popular ones in MLS? Well, he did the multiple competitions thing, which he could maybe revisit, right, with Leagues Cup.
True, you could.
He did in the Champions Cup, he did the salary issue, right? Like, they've got 15 DPs out there. We don't.
Yeah, we can't compete with that. They have 15 DPs.
I don't know, but here's the problem. Like, he is his own worst enemy here, because he just went out and what did he say in the beginning? Like he was complaining about or needing the reset from I mean, basically like the Bruce era, right? Like, basically having to clean up everything there.
Yeah.
So
because you're not worrying about the baloney anymore.
Yes.
Right. I had to get my Cardinalfo reference in there, but putting the baloney aside. How bad is it in New England right now?
Yeah, pretty bad, right? There's 29 teams in Major League Soccer. They are the 29th team in Major League Soccer right now.
And is Nashville the 28th?
You can make an argument there. You could San Jose.
True.
Could probably San Jose is probably there.
Yeah.
Nashville, you could. I don't know. Again.
Oh, San Jose's 28, then is Nashville 27, I guess.
Probably, yeah. Of course, on the mothership, there's these power rankings that are out, so you can peruse those and see how.
Never heard of it.
These teams are, but But yeah, no, not good. And again, it's an East that has Messi and friends, that has the defending Supporters Shield and MLS Cup winners, that has an improved Atlanta team, that has an improved Red Bulls team, that has an NYCFC team now earning points. Who am I missing? I think Montreal with some home games, they're going to be better, right? Like, so there's only so many playoff spots that are available, right? So like where is it going to turn for New England?
Dylan Butler, MLSsoccer.com, hanging out with us, and we're discussing everything from coaching youth soccer to hot seats and everything else going on. Messi and friends, as some of our folks in the Twitch pitch mentioned, Del Schaefer down in Charleston. He's like, but they had the highest attendance ever, like 65-12. It's like,
yes, they got to watch their team get smoked by 3 goals.
but how many of them were actually there to see the team get smoked, and how many of them were there to sit there and see Messi and friends and have Messi and friends?
I think the folks at Patriot Place were happy. There were probably a few establishments that were visited before and after.
Yes, sadly, Toby Keith's is no longer one of them, but
R.I.P.
You've got right now the street fight that is the East. It's going to be a street fight all season long, because I still think that Messi and friends are going to come back to the pack just because of injuries and schedule compression and international duty and all these things. They're in their early season sprint. They're gonna come back to the pack.
Yeah, they're not made for the Shield. I don't think they're made for their tournament quick hit situations like Leagues Cup, or we thought Champions Cup, but certainly MLS Cup.
Yep, and so right now in the East, it's Cincinnati, or otherwise known as Philly Light, I guess.
Oh yeah, Philly too. Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to. Although Bedoya's got a few words to.
Yeah, he does. Well, and Gosdog had a few words last night, apparently after the redo and the 3-2 loss, where it was like this was the worst half we've ever played since I've been here. About that first half where it was an awful giveaway, and Raul Ruidiaz puts it in the back of the net.
That's gotta be fun to like be like in Philly, because like you get the sense. Look, we've been around teams where it's super buttoned up, no information goes out. We're not negative about anything, guys. Everything, if it's not positive, then it's just we're not going to be negative. And like Jim Curtin's talked about buying beer and pizza for the guys after a clean sheet, and like it just has this really fun feel. It feels like like it's just whatever you want to say it. Have it out in the locker room, have it out in the press. It's just wild.
Well, I mean, I think that the press appreciates that kind of openness, because 100%. It's not your standard 20-second soundbite where you drop in at least a cliche or two, and you open up the cliche handbook and you go down to like page 8 and you play mix it.
Right.
The follow your cliche adventure that you have when it comes to your sound bites.
Play it one game at a time.
Yeah, that. And you see, and that's the thing, is that you could sit there and it's like, we're ready for the challenge, but we are going to take it one game at a time, and we're really excited about the challenge that this team coming in.
That was one of my favorite parts of Bull Durham, when he's teaching all the cliche quotes when he's about to go to the bigs.
Mm-hmm. So who's it? Ray Ann? Did you hear that song, Ray Ann? She's I mean, it's great to have that honesty, but do you really want that kind of honesty all the time, I guess, is the question that you're staring at.
Yeah, it's hard to kind of turn that faucet off, it seems like.
True. And because of that, I wonder, after last night, apparently there was a conversation. So Rich has said that Andre Blake may or may not have said that he wants to leave Philadelphia this morning. So, is this, and this is running it back? Is it running it back one too many years in a row?
I thought so. I thought that was the case. They were another team too that you gave them that Champions Cup leeway in the start, but then the way that they exited that competition, yes, I understand they didn't have a loss, but they had a lot of ties, right? Like it wasn't like they were setting records for early season wins or anything. Yeah, and again, this was the talk in the off season, right? Like, listen, we're running it back. These are our guys. You know, so this was supposed to be that breakout year, and obviously not the case to this point. They're akin in this Stanley Cup playoff season that we're in.
Oh,
maybe I don't know. Maybe they're not like the big spenders like the Maple Leafs are, but they're almost akin to that, right? Like, where if you don't get that success this year, like, are we just blowing this up?
Winnipeg?
Are they akin to Winnipeg, you're saying?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Because Winnipeg's got, they've gone right up against the cap.
So Curtin is bonus.
Yeah, so Curtin is Rick bonus, and where if you're up against the cap and everybody knows that you've got to do that, but you've also got to sell out your building and get your season ticket holder base back because you ain't filling out your building. It's one of the smaller buildings in the NHL, and if you're not filling out your building and you're up against the cap, something's got to give.
Yeah, fair.
And so Winnipeg was the first team that popped into my head. Constantly trying to bang the door down, always competitive, and they just, for whatever reason, they can't quite get over the hump. And so that's why I was thinking it might be Winnipeg. So.
But I just felt in the desperation to win this year mode.
Yeah,
that's similar to what the Maple Leafs are looking at.
So you're staring at a team in Philadelphia running it back one more time, and Jose Martinez is getting run around like nobody's business. And so he's got issues at the back, and you've got folks in their early 30s, mid 30s, and they're having to face this schedule that's there. It makes you wonder about a team like Philly. Red Bulls right now, they're third here at the quarter pole, and we've seen what Emil Forsberg can bring to the table. John Herdman, after 10 matches, I did not anticipate this, even with the injuries that they have at Toronto right now. They're in fourth. You mentioned Crew. Nick Cushing has a stay, I believe, is probably the best way to phrase it with that most recent run of form. DC, I'm still wondering how DC is where they are, and I'm guessing it's because of the Belgian breadloaf, Christian Benteke.
Put it in his vicinity.
Yes, exactly, in the area code. But so our friend Emilio, now that we're to this particular part of the program, he wants to know what your thoughts are on Atlanta United. You said early on, you mentioned that Atlanta United's better. What are your thoughts about Atlanta United at the quarter pole?
It's a tough, like, we're not giving out grades, right? But like, it's a tough team to grade because of the injuries, especially in the back, right? Like, I think they're a very, very good team. I think they're a top 4 team in the East. Mm-hmm. I would put, in whatever order, Crew, Cincinnati, Atlanta, Red Bulls.
Mm-hmm. Messi and friends.
But again, like, probably there too. So top five in the East.
Okay.
But again, it's hard to judge, I think, again, with the injuries. So, mm-hmm. Like, I think I think they addressed needs in the off season and in a really good way. But also the summer is going to be interesting too, right? Like, because obviously there's going to be suitors for players, right? Especially named Thiago. So
I've heard, yes.
It's like you address your needs in that one window, but now and of course they're anticipating these things, so they've got it on the board. If this happens, then that happens. So, but no, the long-winded, I think, is I do think they're an improved team. We've just not seen the best of them yet. So
then let me ask you this: you mentioned the Color Your Thiago Almada adventure that we're going to be having sooner rather than later. That you're going to have suitors, and you just don't know where and what the price tag is going to be. What do you think about the new rules of engagement, where it looks like in the summer you can add a U22 or another DP, or that kind of thing? What do you think about the new rules and where it might help franchises, and who's going to have to sit and wait for a little bit to get the help, I guess?
Yeah, I think I think that's the thing about these windows, right? Like MLS, you prefer, and it's all about the FIFA calendar, right? Like MLS, you'd prefer to do your business obviously in the preseason because you have your team throughout, right? And obviously the preseason for all European teams is the summer. So, like you could lose right in the middle of your season, some obviously significant players, which has happened. So, I do like that mechanism where you can replace those guys at that point. I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, it just helps those teams, and MLS wants to be a selling league, and they want to develop talent. So why not make it easier on teams to be more willing to do that, right?
Who do you think benefits the most? And is there somebody in that second level that you would sit there and then you wouldn't necessarily think that they might benefit from it, but then all of a sudden they'll make a move and it's like, ooh, someone who may not necessarily be a big spender, but is there somebody in like that? Is there a B+ player out there that you think could benefit more than, say, the folks that want to, open up the wallet like Toronto, like the Maple Leafs or the Winnipeg Jets? Who do you think would be one of these low-key folks that could benefit from something like this?
Good question. I think some of the teams like I think Salt Lake has shown the willingness to spend a little bit more, right, than they have in the past. Colorado, another team.
I mean, if you're dropping $3 million on Georgi Mihailovic for the first time in modern history, and you're helping out Chris Armas, it's like, what has Kroenke Sports and Entertainment done, and what have you done with Stan Kroenke?
But I think a lot of those teams, and maybe Red Bull too, and that's another team too where they did splash the cash, and the early returns are very good on Forsberg, right? So probably those teams, but I think you're seeing more across the board of MLS. Maybe teams aren't spending like Miami, but I think we're seeing the basement rise in terms of spending, right? Like teams that weren't spending are or are spending more, I should say.
But are Messi and friends really spending money? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. How'd you do? I mean, Jordi Alba and Sergi Busquets, they're only getting $1 million salaries. I mean, and of course I say that tongue in cheek. But when you look at like Messi and friends and Chris Henderson, they've got to have a massive capologist there that understands all of the rules that are the rules of engagement, because when you get X amount of dollars in AM for DeAndre Yedlin, and it is one of the goofiest figures I've ever seen for AM for DeAndre Yedlin, and then you get a player injured, you get to bring in a player on loan. You get another player injured, you get to bring in somebody else on a deal. It's like I feel
like it's like that room, that office that person is in. Like you open the door and it's like that scene from A Beautiful Mind.
Yeah.
Where it's just like numbers everywhere on the walls. Like it's
or is it like Charlie Day in It's Only Sunny in Philadelphia, where you have all the pictures and the red string going from one place to another. And it's like, if this, then this, and all these kinds of things. You mentioned spending money. LAG has spent a lot of money, $19 million on bringing in 2/3 of your protein power pack, your P3, the Puig, Paintsil, and Peck, and they are crazy offensive right now, averaging a little over 2 goals a match, 21 scored so far this year. Of course, they've also given up 17, but hey, if you still outscore the guy, it's 5-4.
It's fun to watch. Fun to watch, that's for sure.
You're still outscoring folks, and you're taking the over in your juice boxes. That's probably one of the better plays on the board every single week, is just take your total for LAG and go over. It's just like, nah, I'll go over 3.5, and I'll set it up right there. When you look at the West right now, you mentioned RSL.
How about them? Sitting on top.
Yeah, I mean, RSL with Chicho Arango, LAG, Vancouver with Vanni Sartini, now that he's back on the touchline, and Minnesota with 32-year-old Eric Ramsey as head coach. And Minnesota's coming here to Atlanta this weekend. Should be an interesting one.
Yeah, and Reynoso will not be.
Reynoso show, you mean?
And they're seemingly better without him. At least in the short term.
Yeah.
Interesting that and like points when you go to points per game, they're right up there at the top. Minnesota.
Yeah.
In the West, so 1.89.
1.89.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one that I don't. That's a surprise for sure.
Did not have that one on the bingo card.
No. And Salt Lake doing what really not many MLS teams have done. Gone to Subaru Park and took away all 3 points, right? Mm-hmm. So super impressive performance there, and love what Vancouver has done. Although on our Slack, we missed where Vanni Sartini said his favorite Italian restaurant in Manhattan was. We were trying to roll that tape back and figure that out, so we can go to there. Yeah.
Oh, see, now that's the fun part in this. Question from Dell in Charleston, and as we're talking about Messi and friends and dollar signs and caps and all this kind of stuff, wants to know if MLS teams get a share of the Apple TV money.
I'm not speaking as an expert or definitively, but I'm fairly certain they do.
And so you have all of the. I'm trying to sit there, and I did a massive search quickly, trying to figure out if something is there.
I mean, they have to, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, you would think that it's somewhere in there that as a part of this deal, you get X, and then for subscribers, you probably, if you hit certain metrics with subscribers, you probably end up getting more.
But especially like what you lost with local TV, probably some teams were. I'm sure some teams were paying for that, but I'm sure a lot of teams were getting money, right, for their local TV deals. So
yeah, and so $2.5 million for 10 years, and once again, both sides say that they are happy. At least they have at the end of the season, or whenever you get to kind of sit there and grab a person of import by the collar and go, hey yo, how is this deal going? Oh, everything's great. Yeah, everything's fine. No worries there. So on a per club basis, when this came to the fore, 29 teams, and then San Diego coming in for 30. You have the $2 million in production costs that teams have typically spent. You get an average of $7.5 million a year per club, and that's a big increase from the last deal, which was at $90 million, $25 million for the rights to the national team games sold separately, $65 million to $300 million. So it's a 450% increase in income, and so that's what you're staring at with the distribution when it comes to the Apple TV deal. So, I mean, $7.5 million can help you out, man. That's what you're hunting for. This upcoming weekend, what matches are in your spot shadow? Where are you going to be staring at? Are you going to be staring at the team that is going to be heading toward Dylan Butler Estates in short order? Where are you going to be staring at things this weekend?
Well, of course, it starts with tonight. I'll be on the desk for that one. So we'll see if the crew can finish things off and reach the CCC final.
Will they?
I wish they didn't concede the away goal. That makes you nervous, right? I think they will.
Okay.
But I say that not super.
There was a bit of an uptick at the end. I think they will.
I'm Ron Burgundy. So I think eyes are in, and it's not because of Messi, but I think because of the result last time when Messi wasn't there. I think Red Bull Miami's is a real interesting one to keep an eye out for. Just also to where they are, in the East and the table. The Atlanta Minnesota match I think is really interesting as well. The reasons we mentioned before. I think, and the two Sunday ones as well. Seattle is that. Who the hell knows what's going on with those guys, right? Like they're fine, I think, as long as they don't get a red.
Yeah, yes, that's true.
And maybe take the over there in Lumen Field. And my CFC's final home match of the 5 that they have, with Colorado coming back on Cinco de Mayo as well. So
Ooh.
there is some and again that's right next to Flushing Meadow Park. That place is going to be the smells, incredible.
See, now you're getting me hungry.
Sorry.
No worries. At Dylan_Butler. It's great to see you, my friend, with the coaching and the high school varsity media on the YouTubes and on the social medias and MLSsoccer.com. My friend, it's great to see you. Glad things are going well. And may you continue to award stickers to all of your players when they do well.
Yeah, they get it regardless. But we will do the stickers, and I'm going to try to implement and maybe a 2-3 formation with open up space on the mini pitch that we already play on. So
there you go. So we got to come up with SDH stickers and send them up to you so you can sit there and award them.
You could put a unicorn on it. The girls will love it.
That would be fantastic. Be good, Dylan. We will catch up with you next time. Hopefully, it will be next week. We'll keep talking about stuff. That's the official term.
Yeah, buddy.
All right, that's Dylan. And it's great to have Dylan back. I know that, like I said, Dylan is one of the busiest folks in the Northeast. And so when we can grab a hold of him and sit there and go, okay, we need you to talk. And the fact that he's taking a day where he's not a coach, he's not having to be at an event, he's not having to take conference calls to talk about high school lacrosse and basketball and all-star teams and all this kind of stuff. It's always great to catch up with Dylan and get the lowdown as to what's going on. But, for the remaining half hour, we got to talk high school. We got to talk about all the other stuff going on in and around the planet. News of the AM that includes Serginho Dest. It came out a little bit ago while we were discussing things with Dylan before the 10 o'clock hour. It is confirmed now. Serginho Dest will miss the 2024 Copa America due to an anterior cruciate ligament injury. PSV has now officially confirmed that. Going to return in 2025. PSV wanted to activate the purchase option of the 10 million euros, according to Fabrizio Romano, but now the situation could change, obviously, because, if you like somebody and they're not at 100%, is it going to benefit you to activate a 10 million euro release clause if dude ain't playing? And I mean that in the sense of not physically being active, not in the sense of not messing around emotionally. But if Serginho Dest is not playing, the value in a 10 million euro release clause, if PSV is genuinely interested in Serginho Dest, that number is probably going to have to go down and go down a lot. So that's what we're staring at. 4 card, does that mean that Lennon or Wiley would go to Copa? I would hope that would mean that maybe, and this is probably a question for Bart.
If it's not Lennon, I am going to riot.
Well, then you're probably going to riot.
That is true.
Because tradition, like I said, I don't know what Brooks Lennon has to do to get noticed. In addition to everything else, 4 card, it would make sense if Lennon or Wiley got the chance to go to Copa because of this injury with Serginho Dest. And Bart, and this is probably another topic for Bart to discuss. So the next time that the Soccer for US POD comes out, definitely going to be a topic that they're going to be talking about. And, who's it going to be? Should it be Brooks on the right-hand side? Yes. Should it be, and ropes with the point that Caleb Wiley right now would be in Paris. I say right now. Caleb will be attached to the Olympic squad. Does this mean that Caleb gets flipped from the U.S. Olympic team? Does he get flipped to the national team? Don't know. Is there somebody else probably, and I'll use this phrase, more experienced that you would, does this solidify Joe Scally? USMNT right back. All right, so here we go. USMNT ranking the right backs. Well, this is 2021. That's a little outdated, so that's not going to work. Okay, so April. The right back situation. Dest's injury, and this is from our friends at SBI. This is from Larry Henry Jr. So Joe Scally, here's your options. Joe Scally, and this is according to SBI. This is not something that I am putting out into the ether myself. What'd you think? Joe Scally, Brian Reynolds, DeAndre Yedlin, Reggie Cannon, Shaq Moore. So that is what they're looking at. That is their top 5 at right back. SBI maintains that Joe Scally will be the likely replacement since he has seen action on the right and the left. And when you have a situation where you need roster flexibility, and if you need to have somebody sit there and play against type, then they nod and go, yes, sir, yes, sir. So Joe Scally's been on the left and on the right. SBI maintains that he would be the odds-on favorite. Consistent role for Borussia Mönchengladbach, 1 goal, 3 assists, 32 combined appearances, closing in on 100 career appearances for Gladbach, 9 caps to date with USMNT. Did start for Dest in the Nations League semi over Jamaica. Brian Reynolds, 31 combined appearances for Westerlo, 4 assists. Continue to develop, teaming up with Griffin Yao over the last 2 years, debuted in 2021. Hasn't earned a cap since Gold Cup in 23. Also an option for the Olympic roster, which could rule him out if Marko Mitrovic chooses Brian Reynolds. DeAndre Yedlin.
Well,
yep, go.
I think someone needs to fact check that article because I think they mispronounced or they misspelled Brooks Lennon
That could
a couple times.
That could be.
Yeah, listen. I really don't know what else Lennon has to do to be considered for this roster.
Mm-hmm.
If this doesn't at least get him noticed or looked at,
mm-hmm.
I think something is weird. Because come on, I mean, Are you kidding? Arguably one of the best right backs in MLS right now.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
what he has produced on the field, I mean, is bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
What else does he need to do in order for Greg Berhalter to be like, yep, let's pull it up?
Cut him a check? I don't know. Dell, he has to kiss up to him. I mean, that I don't know. Dell is like, who knows what the Dodo 3GB is going to do? Ropes is like Yedlin or Cannon. Lennon has the better crossing ability. Yeah, Ropes. He needs to be playing in Europe for them to call him up. That's what.
No, he doesn't, because half of those players are. I'm scared. They're what? They're in MLS. So I don't understand.
Oh, I know. Like I said, it is strictly a personal choice. DeAndre Yedlin gives you the experience that you're hunting for. Reggie Cannon. This could be the return for Reggie Cannon. He was at QPR in the championship. QPR is mid-table. 20 appearances. Hasn't really had a whole lot of playing time since mid-February, and that might be the reason that Reggie Cannon would not be selected. 28 caps to date. Last cap coming 2 years ago in the pre-FIFA World Cup friendly. Shaq Moore, 27, 8 appearances for Nashville SC, 3 assists, and he made over 60. He's made over 60 appearances for Gary Smith, right back, right wing. Last USMNT appearance, 1-0 friendly loss to Slovenia earlier this year. That was his first in 14 months. And Moore did feature under Berhalter at the 22 World Cup as well as other comps. So, like I said, that's what SBI is saying. SBI has it Scally, Reynolds, Yedlin, Cannon, Shaq Moore. That's what they are looking at when it comes to the replacement for Serginho Dest for sure. And Ropes is that's why Scally's the likely choice, and Dell is not a fan of Shaq Moore. By the way, I did find the Instagram post by Andre Blake about how unhappy he is right now, someplace, somewhere. On the IG or the Insta or the Gram, whatever the kids call it, Dre_boy18, black background, white print. When you are no longer happy, it's time. That's what Rich was talking about this morning with Andre Blake. So, union ownership are going to have a very intriguing, how should we say, off season when it comes to Andre Blake. And this is what, you're running it back one more time. And as I said, Daniel Gazdag mentioned post-match last night in the 3-2 loss to Seattle that it was the worst first half they've played since he has been there. And when you go down 2-0, and especially with one of the moves that created a quick turnover, and apparently Jose Martinez was also tweeting at halftime of the match from inside the locker room. So
Nice.
there was a timestamp that leads us to believe he was tweeting at halftime. Like I said, don't know if it was timed, don't know if it was live or not, but I believe that it is not currently sunny in Philadelphia when it comes to the Union, especially with what happened last night. So it is on the gram that Andre Blake is less than pleased. Ali Bedoya had some comments last night where he was less than pleased. So it is right now it is not a happy place. And I don't know if Rich, if you were there at the match last night, and this was the makeup match because of the turf being unplayable and the monsoon that decided to squat on Chester, Pennsylvania, basically a few minutes into the match, the original match between Seattle and Philly. But so that's what you're staring at right now with Philadelphia. Andre Blake probably, looking at not being happy right now in Philadelphia. So, so that after a 3-2 loss last night, that's where Philly is. And Philly right now is only 1 point ahead of Atlanta. Same amount of matches. They have 13 points. Atlanta has 12 points. So it will be an interesting case study in Philadelphia as we continue to see what's going on with Philly. Wanted to talk about the high schools a little bit. And then obviously we've also got news of the morning and things like that before we go. So there's plenty to talk about when it comes to news of the AM, gossip and innuendo, that kind of stuff. And like I said, we got about 20 minutes. Last night, and I think, Maddie, it was the first time that you had the chance to see a Dalton and McIntosh match up front. So what did you think about that particular environment last night with those two?
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. I got to give credit to the McIntosh supporters or the fans. I mean, they came out. They were loud. They were obnoxious. They were going crazy. Like that's what you want out of a club. And I think that's awesome. Like to have that culture and that fan base. I think it's really cool to have. And that was fun. The game was fun. It was very back and forth. Jason said it last night, but I mean, I feel like a lot of our matches that we've called have been, if they are very exciting or anything like that, they've been multiple goal games. It was a 1-0 victory, but I mean, it was back and forth. It was crazy. You had crosses, you had crazy saves. It was nuts. It was a fun night.
Yeah. And so we're at noon. We're going to have Soccer's in Session live. I think we're going to have Bobby Jaworski, the head coach of GMC Prep, leading us off. And you're going to have the coach from West Forsyth's girls, where we're going to be on Thursday. He's going to be following up there. So we'll go through all the brackets and let everybody know what's going on with all of that. But those will be the first two guests that we have coming up at 12:05 and 12:15. So Soccer's in Session live, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. Kaiser Permanente, for all that is you. And so we'll discuss what happened last night, but visits from West Forsyth and GMC Prep, or GMC Prep and West Forsyth out of the blocks kicking off at noon. So it'll be a fun one. Apparently there is a weather delay, according to Dell. Venezia Catanzaro has been interrupted due to heavy rain with Busio and Tessman in the lineup. Yes, Gianluca Busio and Tanner Tessman both in the lineup. I mean, I love what Venezia has done with their jerseys and their marketing. They got to get out of league. They got to get out of Serie B, because as Nick says, that's a knife fight in a phone booth to get out of there. And you got to try and spend a lot of money to get out of Serie B so you can get back in Serie A. But Venezia last year did not survive Serie A. They were in Serie B. And so keep an eye on the heavy rains involving Venezia and Catanzaro with that particular match. And yeah, so Dell, keep me posted if that match kicks back in and we can see what's going on with those two clubs. I went to the post-game report from last night from Jonathan Tannenwald. First time the Union have lost consecutive games since last July. First time they've lost consecutive home matches since 2021. So you had Ty Barbo was a sighting last night. First appearance this year. First since September 27th. And Andre Blake's swollen knee had sidelined him. So Oliver Semley moved up from the bench. Holden Trent still sidelined. Andrew Rick was brought from Union 2 to be the backup. So the fourth time that Rick has been called up to the senior team. How does it look on the weekend? That will be another question that's attached to it. Raul Ruiz got the first goal on the board. And as I'm sitting here and trying to look at the comeback, substitutions, Wagner for Mbaizo, Harriel got moved, Bedoya and McGlynn for Martinez and Jesus Bueno. 2 goals in the first 15 minutes. Team got booed off the field last night. And then you end up with a 85th minute. And so that was how it ended up being a final score of 3-2. So 3-2 win for Seattle on the road. And so we'll see how things continue to evolve for Philadelphia. But it was a strange night on a bunch of different fronts. Nick is traveling the planet, Forecard. Nick is, shooting a lot of videos and corporate stuff right now. And so he's flying around the planet trying to make sure that Jackie Fresh and the Duchess can perform their daily duties as best they can. So, Nick was gone for like the entire month of April. I mean, he was not at home, flying around the country and going to the West Coast and all this kind of stuff. So it's great to have Nick back somewhere close in the environments. And so it's, once again, great to have him back as a part of everything. Yesterday, 2-2 draw in Champions League. And Carlo Ancelotti said that, no, Jude Bellingham was not at 100%. And so 2-2, Harry Kane scores. And so today is the other semifinal in Champions League. And so we'll keep an eye on that going forward. News of the morning, in addition to what we saw last night, high school action. We'll get into that once again at noon Eastern. Soccer's in session live as we go over quarterfinals Tuesday and get you ready for semifinal Thursday. We'll be at West Forsyth on Thursday. And we will have a North Gwinnett and West Forsyth. We're still trying to figure out where we're going to be for a semifinal Friday. We should have a notification and figure out where we're going to be. And when we know, obviously, we will let you know. Did you know that according to Martin Ziegler, and so when Martin Ziegler has a byline at the Times, that's not really a story that you want. You don't want Martin Ziegler's byline. You really don't. That's like your favorite investigative reporter, whoever it is, Dale Russell, Randy Travis, Dana Fowle, your favorite investigative reporter, the 60 Minutes folks, if they come knocking on your door, and there's dudes you don't want. And Martin Ziegler is one of those dudes. Times newspaper, he comes out with a story, and here's the headline. The £76.5 million Chelsea hotel deal that the Premier League refuses to sign off. Should have taken the Premier League 10 days to approve the Chelsea sale of 2 hotels to a sister company. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. How'd you do? For £76.5 million. 10 months after the deal was executed, it still has not been signed off as being of fair market value. So that leaves Chelsea and their PSR, the profit and sustainability rules, somewhere in the question and answer session 10 months into the deal. Raises questions over whether the club have appealed against the Premier League's valuation. The Hotel at Chelsea Limited, signed by Bedad Iqbali, part of Bowley Clear Lake, states that as of March 5th this year, the assessment on the hotels had not been concluded. The outcome could have an impact on the value of the sale. Once again, Chelsea needs that £76.5 million to go up against the club numbers, because in over a 3-year period, you can only lose 105 million pounds. That's the PSR limit. So Chelsea needs the sale of these two hotels to a sister company within the Chelsea umbrella. They need this to go down. Whether it is or not, it's anybody's guess. If the Premier League insists the value of the sale should be lower, could put Chelsea in breach. Now it'd have to be dealt with next season. So could Chelsea have a points deduction coming their way for violating PSR? Keep that in your hip pocket. The kind of transaction between associated parties is how it's listed. No longer permitted by the EFL, but the loophole has not been closed by the Premier League. However, you've got to satisfy the value of the sale to make sure that you're just not boosting a number for the sake of boosting a number to help you with your own bottom line. So the Premier League rules say the board will conclude fair market value assessment within 10 clear working days. We're on 10 clear working months now. Further time is required due to exceptional circumstances. One possible reason for the delays, the Premier League has asked for more information from Chelsea. Kieran Maguire, who is the guy that you really want to quote in these situations, he is a football finance author, said that a drop in the accepted value of the hotel sale could mean Chelsea breaching for 22-23. That could be a problem. The Millennium and Copthorne hotels and car park were transferred from Chelsea to Blueco 22, June 29th of last year. So basically, you're looking at almost 11 months. You've just cleared 10. Both are subsidiaries of Chelsea's holding company. So basically, you've transferred the rights from a hotel from yourself to another version of yourself. Strangely enough, and I know this will surprise all of you, the holding company, Igbali, Todd Bowley, club director Jonathan Goldstein, are the only three directors of the property company. So basically, you're sitting there going, Self, you want to own a hotel? Sure, why not? You shake hands. Do you go into a mirror in a bathroom to shake hands with yourself on this? Self, you want a hotel? Yes, I'd love a hotel. Well, tell you what, I'm going to give you a hotel. That would be great. What's the cost? Oh, $76.5 million. For how many for two hotels and a car park? Really? $76.5 million for two hotels and a car park? That's an amazing deal. I know. Isn't that great? 10 months. Supposed to take 10 days. What do you think is happening? In the collective you. What do you think is happening here? Martin Ziegler writes a story in the Times. What do you think is happening? You, as Uncle Sam points his index finger forward. What do you think is happening? Derek, not sus at all. Yeah, wink, wink. Like I said, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. How'd you do? As previously reported, the accounts of Chelsea Holdings and of the hotel only explain where 32.8 of the 76.5 million pounds profit comes from in relation to the sale of the hotels to the holding company. So 55% of the money in the sale has questions attached. Gee, I wonder why. I really wonder why. Chelsea reported an annual loss of about 90 million pounds for 22-23, but it would have been 166.4 million without the deal with the hotels and the car park. Club also reported a further 30.6 million pounds as other operating income, and yes, I did use air quotes, including recharging 17 million in litigation costs to the holding company. Here, I need you to pay lawyer fees. Okay, how much? $17 million. Okay, I'll cut you a check. And a 12.5 million pound settlement fee. According to Ziegler, it's unclear what that was for. Chelsea had the second highest wage bill in 22-23 behind Manchester City, 404 million pounds. And that also is apparently including payoffs of Thomas Tuchel and Graham Potter. Last line from Ziegler in the story. Despite the salary costs and losses, Todd Bowley says he expects the club to comply with the Premier League's financial rules in the foreseeable future. Yes, there will be billable hours, and they'll be the ones making money. But yes, I wonder how those conversations go. Do you have a two-way mirror in a bathroom? You know, you go to Stamford Bridge, you wander into a particular room. Maybe there's a holographic image of Todd Bowley talking to Todd Bowley.
Oh, maybe
something like that. I don't know how this works.
Or you it's like the thing from Star Wars. It's like a hologram thing,
Yes.
and you just do that.
Holding company Todd Bowley, you're my only hope. That's
maybe.
That is exactly what is going on.
I'm glad I could bring in the Star Wars reference.
Holding company Todd Bowley, you're my only hope. That is exactly what is going on. We mentioned the issues with Everton's takeover, where yesterday we talked about the budget airline collapsing and what that was all about. You got four aircraft, and they got repossessed in the middle of the night. They're owned by they're being leased by the holding company that wants to buy Everton. It gets better. They have made a payment, meaning 777, of around $16 million toward the working capital. It was paid yesterday. In another development, Teneo, the UK advisors to 777, and now we know who it is. Teneo severed ties with the firm, having gone without payment for work they had done. Teneo's financial arm was advising Everton over the potential restructuring of debts due to the burden it's incurred because of the construction of the new stadium at Bramley-Moore Dock. So now you have concerns, but now we do know at least the name of the company that was advising them, and we also now know the name of the company that is no longer advising them because they ain't getting paid. I'm shocked. Also on the board in the Premier League, Howard Webb admits that VAR made an error. So VAR in the Premier League had an oopsie. Just what you want to do to get Evangelinos Marinakis that much more angry. Dude owns a club in Greece, Olympiakos. There was one match in particular, and they have ultras, like other clubs in Europe. One match that he was so angry at his club for their performance, he wanted the ultras to stand outside the dressing room while he addressed the club. He told the club if they lost that particular derby one more time, he was going to let the ultras into the locker room.
I just don't think that's a good idea.
That's how Evangelinos Marinakis is wired. He is apparently, and there's an article in The Guardian about Marinakis and about how at the same time he is incredibly generous with taking care of refugees. He wanted to have the Shakhtar Donetsk club for a raiser to help, a fundraiser to help out for war relief, and wanted to pay all their expenses. They could stay as long as they needed to help things out. Great with donations and helping out those who are having to deal with troubles in their homeland. But he is very, very passionate about his clubs and what's going on. But now that you have the folks in England admitting an oopsie in the three where they put the note on social media against Everton when the match was over, where the owner was told to tone down his message to what it was, Howard Webb has conceded that VAR should have intervened to recommend that Forest be awarded the penalty, the third one. 10 days after Forest once again created all of the loud speaking by criticizing the selection of the VAR in that particular match because he was a fan of a club that is fighting Nottingham Forest not to be relegated. Now, Match Officials Mic'd Up is a program that they have on Sky with the Premier League. It's not quite what MLS has, where they go online and they just kind of put the program up for you to watch on YouTube or whatever channels you want to watch it on. This is an actual television program where they come on the air. They have the head of the PGMOL, Howard Webb, and then he'll discuss the moments of the week. Webb said Atwell should have sent the referee Anthony Taylor to VAR monitor to review an incident. Ashley Young tackled Callum Hudson-Odoi. When we had Bart on to discuss all three of these moments, this was the one that we agreed really should have been a penalty of the three. Reviews of the audio footage between the referee and VAR showed Taylor believed that Young had successfully touched the ball on his tackle, which did not happen. Atwell thought the challenge by Ashley Young was part of an ongoing tussle rather than a foul. Howard Webb says, the referee waves away the penalty decision and video assistant looks at it and asks whether the non-award was a clear and obvious error and comes to the conclusion that it wasn't. Doesn't see a clear action he considers worthy of intervention. We would have preferred an intervention on this situation for the referee to go to the screen to make a judgment for himself and probably would have come out with a different outcome if that would have happened, end quote. The protest afterward mentioned 2 other moments, and we were kind of like, yeah, you could justify one if you walk down that road. But there was one that was kind of more subjective of the 2 that was not. But the third one, that is one where our friends with the PGMOL, they were like, yep, that's probably a penalty. Webb became the chief refereeing officer of the PGMOL back in 2022 and has increased communication all the way around when it comes to refereeing decisions. In closing the remarks, Webb observed that the mistakes would continue to be made. Quote, the game is played by human beings. It's officiated by human beings. So the PGMOL comes to the table and says, yeah, that third one probably should have been VAR. That's not going to make things any better for Nottingham Forest, who we've kind of nicknamed Varingham Forest because of all of the discussions they've had all season long with everything. One other note before we go. Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. Have you, Maddie, watched any of the Wrexham series on FX?
I have only seen the first season. I have yet to watch the second one, but I am planning on doing that over the summer. Okay.
So they meaning Reynolds and McElhenney, want to develop the racecourse stadium into a stadium with up to 55,000 seats. 55,000. Right now, the ground only holds about 12,006. Temporary stand on the cop behind one goal. They think, meaning Ryan Reynolds says, it's hard to say for sure, but we think we could get between 45,000 and 55,000 people in there. The whole town could come to a game. Racecourse Ground, the world's oldest international football stadium that still holds matches, having staged its first Wales home match in 1877. But they think that they can get upwards of 45 to 55,000 in that facility there at the Racecourse Ground. What do you think?
Ooh, they're expanding.
Mm-hmm.
Expanding.
Yes.
I mean, why not? I mean, it's grown in popularity, and investing something into that, I think it's cool.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens with all of that. Once again, it is later today. It's the other semifinal. It is BVB and PSG. That's at 3:00 Eastern time. So we've got that coming up today. Also, once again, what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it. And we go to Soccer on TV, courtesy of our friends at Soccer America. We are subscribed, full disclosure. And so that's how we get to talk about this kind of stuff. Champions League's on Big CBS. So if you have a favorite CBS affiliate that does a 4:00 newscast, you ain't seeing it unless it's online or on a different channel attached to your CBS affiliate. Dortmund, PSG's at 3:00. 10:00 tonight on CBS Sports Network, the NWSL, Bay and Portland at 10. The Triple C, can Columbus close it out? That's at 10:15 on FS1. The Saudi King Cup, it's on FS2. If it floats your boat, go for it, 2:00. Same on Fox Deportes in a simulcast. 2 to NA simulcasting both Champions League and the Triple C, Monterrey and Columbus. Univision is simulcasting Dortmund and PSG. Fox Soccer Plus, which was where Dell was watching Catanzaro and Venezia. Game 2 of a triple header. The other one is at noon, supposedly, with Lecce and Sampdoria. NWSL Plus has 2 matches in the league tonight. Orlando and Courage at 7. Chicago, Washington at 8. And Paramount Plus also has Borussia Dortmund, PSG at 3:00. Maddie, what else is on your mind before we go?
Ooh, this is the only day that we have where no soccer is, but everyone take this day to rest. But then we're back at full swing tomorrow, and it's going to be a lot of fun when we go to West Forsyth. I'm excited.
Yep, West Forsyth, and it is West Forsyth hosting North Gwinnett. When we know our boys match, we'll let you know. There were some upsets last night, and so we got to figure out where we're going for Friday. And then when we know that, we'll let you know. But once again, a little before 7 o'clock, it is North Gwinnett at West Forsyth tomorrow. It'll be great to catch up with Brett Phipps and the Wolverines up there. Wrexham, by the way, has an urban population of 44,785. So when Ryan Reynolds said everyone in the town could come to a match, he wasn't kidding. If they're looking for a population of a capacity of 45 to 55, everyone in the town could go, and you could end up with everybody there. 44,785 in the 2021 census. So that's what it was listed at Wrexham. Total of the new cop stand when it was done, it was about 7,000, Tom. So I think it was 5 to 7, depending on how you want to have folks involved in there. So, so 5 to 7, and they want to get it to like 45 to 55. So before we go, once again, Soccer's in session live. That is at noon. Once again, Bobby Jaworski from GMC and Coach Galt from West Forsyth are going to be batting leadoff for us, and we'll discuss what happened last night, get you ready for what's going to happen tomorrow, and we'll do it all again tomorrow at noon as well. So good morning, Pars. Morning, Alex. Morning, Abby. Morning, David. And morning, Dell. Morning, Rich. And let's see. Morning, Four Card. Trying to see if there's anybody else that I missed. Morning, Emilio. I know that you're in the grid. Like I said, I know that Abby's in the grid, and we've talked about Abby. Morning, Alex. Morning, Derek. Morning, Wiley. And Wiley's wife apparently was upset the last time he had a bare face. I usually can go about 3 days, and then it just locks in place, and it won't grow any further. And so the boss hates it when there's just kind of sandpaper, and so then it's just time to shave it. Morning, Ropes, who's watching on the YouTubes, as he always does. Morning, Tom. Morning, Kefsey, and like I said, morning, Four Card, and morning to Derek. So once again, we'll be back at it again, top of the hour, and we will do Soccer is in Session live, and we'll catch up with folks around the state and get you ready for semifinal Thursday, and it'll be fun. So thanks to Dylan, thanks to Tyler, thanks to all of you. And Maddie, go ahead and show the Georgia Impact jersey one more time before we get out of here. Where is it? Where's the jersey?
I don't have it near me. I already showed it. I thought we were.
I know, but we were rushed, because Dylan came in and we were in the middle of the discussion, and so I wanted to let everybody see in earnest what our friends at Georgia Impact were able to do when we went up there on last Friday to introduce the squad to everybody with the new jerseys and everything. So there you go. There's the black, and they have a really cool pink jersey as well. And so think of what is on that jersey, but it is in pink. So think of your colors as being flipped. And so thanks to our friends at Georgia Impact. Yes, as Maddie continues to model it more. Yes, more than a club. And the town of Canton actually on the front of the jersey. So very, very cool there. And by the way, public service announcement. Maddie, how many more days until you graduate Kennesaw State?
Oh, gosh. A week and 1 day from today.
Yeah, so 8 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 8 days away for Maddie to walk the walk, and she gets to accept a diploma for everything that she has done, including all of her work here at SDH. And so it's part of her internship. So 8 days away from graduating. So no pressure in these final 8 days with this sprint for everything that Maddie's been doing here in the network. When do you go back up to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground? Is that tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Okay. So Maddie goes back up there tomorrow, and we get to see what else is going on with Atlanta United as they get ready for Minnesota, and we'll have all of those kinds of discussions around the corner. So, Maddie, since you got to show the jersey not once but twice, go ahead and send us home here on a Wall Pass Wednesday.
Thank y'all for listening. We will be back tomorrow at 9:05, and Soccer's in Session Live will be at 12. So get ready for that. And this is the end of the show, which means John gets to do this.
Exactly. Play it safe, everybody. Mucha plati. I'll see you in 50 minutes.